A very good evening and a warm welcome to our first edition of UBC News Tonight on this 9th day of January 2025. I'm Laurny Masika Kazimoto. Before we get into tonight's news bulletin, let's first take a look at the top stories tonight.
Brought to you by
Greenergy ethanol stoves and fuel. Enjoy cleaner, healthier and affordable cooking. Cook your food in less than 2,000 shillings per day. No charcoal. Stop deforestation. We are looking for agents across Uganda. Greenergy. Bible Corner.
In our top stories, President Museveni engages Ugandan diaspora leaders from Canada. Operationalization of regional centers emphasized as CADP Summit opens in Kampala. Speaker Among refers Auditor General forensic report on BOU to CID for further management. And Kawempe North MP Muhammad Sejirinyas to be buried on Sunday. Good evening once again. President Museveni has welcomed a delegation representing the Ugandan diaspora community in Canada to his country home in Rwachitura. The high-level meeting provided a platform for discussing critical issues affecting Ugandans living and working in Canada, highlighting the government's commitment to fostering strong connections with its diaspora. During the discussions, President Museveni emphasized the importance of leveraging the diaspora's potential to contribute to national development while addressing their unique challenges. This engagement reflects the government's dedication to supporting Ugandans abroad and exploring opportunities for collaboration that benefits both Uganda and its global community. African countries have been challenged to establish and operationalize 5 regional animal resources seed centers of excellence for improved animal breeding and yields. The call follows a position agreed upon during the Specialized Technical Committee session of 2021. Something Uganda has upheld at the National Animal Genetic Resources Center and Data Bank, which was already in place at the time of the agreement. Uganda's Minister for Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Frank Tumwebaze, was speaking during the opening of the extraordinary summit of the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program taking place at Speak Resort in Munyonyo.
Healthy as they may appear, these animals may not be the best of breeds. Whether goats, cows or sheep, the quality and quantity of milk and beef yields is determined by several factors. This is the reason why research in animals has to be intensified.
This calls for advances in technological research and practices, building agricultural systems that are resilient to climate change and other shocks, agro-industrialization and the like. In this context, I wish to recall that the first session of the STC in 2021 agreed to establish 5 regional animal resources seed centers of excellence. Uganda was privileged to host one of the centers under the National Animal Genetic Resources Center and Data Bank, NAGRIC and DB.
This call by Minister Tumwebaze was made during the opening of the African Union Extraordinary Summit of the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program. The idea is to have African countries rally behind animal research.
Participating countries are required to conclude memoranda of understanding, MOUs. We need to expedite this process in those regions where this remains outstanding, such as the Eastern African region. I look forward to having discussions with the concerned ministers on this subject, including at the sidelines of this summit, with a view to actualizing our decision that we made about 5 years ago.
With this in place, the dream of Africa as a commercialized and industrialized agricultural continent will come to pass.
It is by focusing on execution that we can make a meaningful impact on our continent and our people. We must move not with the times, but ahead of the times.
If put into practice, famine, malnutrition and poverty will be conversations of the past. Josepha Sako is the Commissioner Agricultural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Environment at the African Union Commission.
Together, we can ensure that the outcome will have a lasting and a positive impact on our continent, because we all know that our statistics, when the report comes, we are always a continent of food insecure. Let's change the narrative. The time is now. Let's feed Africa. Let all the cities in Africa have access to a nutritious food and affordable food.
Her argument is backed by that of Ethiopia's Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Gimar Amente, who calls for active youth involvement.
The future of agriculture lies in the hands of our youth and women. We must create opportunities for young people to engage in agriculture through education, access to finance and technology. Empowering women as a key player in agriculture will not only enhance productivity, but also drive economic growth and social equity.
Inclusivity is a fundamental aspect of our approach. We will ensure that women and the youth and marginalized groups have access to resources, thereby facilitating their equitable participation in the agri-food sector.
Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program Summit, a 3-day engagement happening in Uganda, will be crowned on Saturday with African presidents, from where the Kampala Declaration will be made. I'm Nafka Farida and Henry Okrut.
The delegates attending the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program Summit are optimistic that the engagement will see Africa emerging as a resilient and non-dependent continent. This is as the leaders have not neglected the strategy to collaborate as African countries with high potential to boost agriculture and increase food production. The extraordinary summit was officially opened in Kampala.
Opening session of the extraordinary summit on the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program in Kampala, the participants kept hopes flowing towards enhancing the agricultural value chain in Africa. Interacting with a section of the delegates, the objectives of the CADIP summit are achievable if Africa positions itself to the best strategies and investment in agriculture, as Hamidi Boga, the Vice President in charge of program delivery at AGRA, explains.
I think the most important thing is to make sure that the private sector is enabled by governments to invest more by creating an enabling environment, making sure that we have the right policies, making sure that we are fighting corruption and removing all bureaucratic bottlenecks that hamper investments in Africa. Because agriculture is business, and there are a lot of resources that could go into agriculture if we created the right enabling environment.
The summit is long overdue, as Africa is said to be going through an unprecedented time on food security, climate change, insecurity and imbalance in trade. Rebecca Amuge Otengo, the Uganda's ambassador to Ethiopia, decries Africa's inability to feed itself amid a wide coverage of fertile and arable land.
Now, Africa can no longer feed itself, yet we have over 65% to 70% of the arable land in the world. We have all the human resource that can go for agriculture. We have the young population. Africa has one of the best weather in the world. But what we produce, sometimes we sell at a very low cost because we don't add value.
The permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Major General David Kasura Chomukama, is hopeful of chances of market creation, especially for countries like Uganda, where some areas have food in abundance.
An example is your shirt. You need, for example, I noticed that you have branded your shirt UBC. So UBC requires a shirt which is branded. And I guess this is a cotton shirt. So immediately, in the value chain, you have created a demand for cotton, for the cultivators of cotton.
General Kasura is aware of the high foreign dependency by African countries, but says a comprehensive free market will help bridge the gap.
What is important is to accept that we must have a free market. We must have as large a market as possible so that we can actualize, we can have meaningful value chains.
As the conference enters day 2 on Friday this week, the discussed strategies are not far from the famous agenda of the Africa we want, agreeing on the development strategy and action plans for the next 10 years.
So this is a concerted effort of African heads of state is to make sure that we provide food and nutrition security for our citizens, create employment, and also industrialize to make sure that whatever we produce, we add value.
Marion Awori and Daniel Mugoya for UBC.
Now, a need for deliberate investment in safe agri-food systems has been reiterated by various delegates that have flown in for the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program CADEP Summit happening in Munyonyo. They also cite a gap in stakeholder engagement where the farmers themselves seem to be underrepresented. Mark Wadulo reports from Entebbe International Airport.
Activity at Entebbe International Airport in regard to the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program today hasn't been that much compared to yesterday and what we also expect tomorrow. Today we saw the African Union Chairman, His Excellency Faki, coming through the commercial wing of Entebbe International Airport, and also we are expecting later on today that's the activity, but we hope that that is what has happened today here. We expect more at the airport. We will be giving you an update.
Thank you, Mark Wadulo. Now, members of Parliament have expressed mixed reaction over the death of the former Kawempe North MP, Mohamed Sejirinya. Sejirinya died today from Lubaga Hospital after a long illness which had kept him in and out of hospital. Some MPs want an explanation of why the former MP's health deteriorated after he had been released from prison in 2023. The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Annette Among, announced the death of the former MP during the Thursday plenary session.
The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, announced the death of former Kawempe North MP, Mohamed Sejirinya, during the Thursday plenary session.
We join the nation in mourning the dedicated servant on the passing on of Honorable Sejirinya. So it is confirmed we have lost one of our own, Honorable Sejirinya. And as Parliament, we shall be communicating on the next plans. May we rise and observe a moment of silence.
May his soul rest in eternal peace.
The former MP and a member of the National Unity Platform died after several months of health-related complications, which has kept him in and out of hospital.
It's a very sad state of affairs. Honorable Sejirinya, I like to remember him as a very practical member of Parliament. He didn't think of being an MP as just speaking good English or wearing a nice suit and that kind of thing, He's the kind of person who would get down to his people, connect with them in a very practical sense. That was him.
Segirinya was serving his first term after overwhelmingly being voted as the Member of Parliament for Kawempe North in the 11th Parliament, a position which to many borrowed trouble for the famous Mr. Updates, as many called him after he and Makindye West MP Alan Sewanyana were among the political prisoners in the aftermath of the 2021 general elections.
It's very unfortunate. From the time he came to Parliament, he was posted here. All the 4 years, he didn't have that time because of the weakness of illness.
Segirinya really was a very good performer per se, because within 1 year, he had actually tried to make his constituency a little bit vibrant. He had actually done quite a number of things in his constituency. He had acquired an ambulance, a transport van, a clinic in his area. So he was really a good member of Parliament.
In 2023, the duo secured court bail but registering various health complications which left them bedridden. From that time, the former MP, Mohamed Segirinya, has been in and out of the hospital for both local and international. A section of the members of Parliament demand an explanation to this.
But we're also conscious that he also questioned and in some of his statements after and upon release from detention, he was questioning the way he was treated in the prison and left so many unanswered questions.
Because if he had been granted with a bail, he would have got actual treatment from his personal doctors and from any other way through which he could treat himself.
That was going on well, that has reached a time, and today we are seeing Segirinya is away. He has left this world.
Meanwhile, Parliament will on Friday morning hold a special sitting to honor the former MP Mohamed Segirinya. Lydia Chomkama and Gloria Gwitabinji, Parliament.
The National Unity Platform Party has released the burial program for Kawempe North MP Mohamed Segirinya, who was confirmed dead this Thursday afternoon at Lubaga Hospital, has been battling several health complications which kept him away from the spotlight as a legislator. Daniel Wenyi-Peters reports.
Reports of Segirinya's death started circulating in the morning, prompting hundreds of people to flock Lubaga Hospital to ascertain these claims. Hours later at midday, the management of Lubaga Hospital finally released a statement confirming the death of Kawempe North MP Mohamed Segirinya. The leadership of National Unity Platform Party later visited Lubaga Hospital and confirmed the new developments to reporters who were waiting around for updates.
I'm sure many of you have already received the terrible news. I'm here to reaffirm the terrible news that we have lost the Honorable Mohamed Segirinya, Member of Parliament for Kawempe North. Segirinya has been and will remain a comrade.
The NUP president informed the reporters that MP Mohamed Segirinya will be buried on Sunday, something that contravenes the religious beliefs of the fallen legislator.
The tentative program is that we shall hold a vigil this evening, beginning at 4 p.m. at the National Unity Platform headquarters. We shall spend the night there with our brother. Tomorrow, Segirinya will be honored in the Parliament of Uganda, and we shall also proceed in the afternoon to hold prayers for him at Mbogo Mosque, and thereafter we'll take his body to his home. Burial will be tentatively Sunday in Masaka, as requested by family.
He explained why.
We understand that Mohamed Segirinya is a Muslim. He was a devoted Muslim, and we respect the Muslim religion. However, his family has requested the leaders of his religion to allow his relatives, brothers and sisters, to fly into the country, and many of them are flying in on Saturday. That is why they've requested that we bury Segirinya on Sunday.
MP Mohamed Segirinya's fans and diehards were also present at the press brief.
We're going to miss him. Ella fight hard, Mr. Update. Fight hard. Honorable Segirinya.
But one of the things I liked to Honorable Segirinya, the late now, is a person who thinks for other people. We always want to take care of other people.
We've lost a leader. We've lost a leader that has completed his manifesto within 6 months as an MP. Because in 6 months, he had an hospital, he had schools, he had too many things. Meaning we have lost a servant leader.
Segirinya was yet to finish his term as the Kawempe North MP before his death. Diano Olwen Peters, UBC News in Kampala.
May his soul rest in peace. Now, Vice President, retired Major Jessica Lupo, has urged student leaders across the country to embrace ideological education in order to solve societal problems in their respective communities. She warned that without proper ideological orientation, the young people and all citizens, for that matter, are bound to lose direction and be completely off target. She made the remarks while delivering a lecture to over 800 student leaders of higher institutions of learning who are undergoing a 2-week patriotism training program at Nkumba University.
Dear participants, before you is Her Excellency the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, who is a mentor, a mother, a friend, and she can never disappoint, a patriot. She's a very good person, and I know with her interaction and the lecture, you're not going to remain the same.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are called upon to embrace ideological orientation because it is scientifically a proven method through which leaders can provide solutions to the existing societal problems. That the founders and fathers of Ugandan revolution chose a life of sacrifice even when they were very young people, led by His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, to be able to clearly see that if they were to create a better country, then they needed to have a new mindset of liberation that required new principles, such as avoiding bad politics of sectarianism based on tribe, religion, gender, etc., but rather embracing patriotism and Pan-Africanism. Patriotism is not just about love for the country, ladies and gentlemen. It involves active participation in nation building. It requires understanding the history, culture, and values that define Uganda. Engaging in community service, promoting local culture, and participating in civic duties are practical expressions of patriotism. What I'm calling upon you to do is the knowledge you get here, do not sit with it, because that does not translate to patriotism.
The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Annette Among, has referred the forensic investigation report into the allegations of loss of funds of the Bank of Uganda to Police Criminal Investigation Department for further management. During her communication to the House, Among said the ingredients found in the report are criminal in nature.
On table, the forensic investigation report into the allegation of funds at Bank of Uganda. I beg to lay.
The government chief whip Hamson Oboa has laid on table the forensic investigation report into the allegations of loss of funds in Bank of Uganda conducted by Auditor General. The Speaker of Parliament, in her communication to the House, said the issue was raised by the Leader of Opposition on 28th November last year about purported money that got lost in Bank of Uganda.
His Excellency the President on this matter, and looking at The ingredients that have been found there, they are criminal in nature, and because of the criminality in it, we will direct this report to be taken directly to CID for further management. And CID, that's the Criminal Investigation Department, will report back to us on the action that has been taken.
Amongst redirection of the report to CID attracted reactions from some members of parliament who questioned why the report could not be handled by a classified committee of parliament, then referred to CID.
You and you are the chairperson of classified committees to handle any matter that are of criminal, that of security nature. Madam Speaker, I'm not privileged to the report that has been laid regarding Bank of Uganda. But I would have just thought that exercising your power, that report would have handled by the committee that you share. That's a classified committee before it is referred for proper management.
Which report would ordinarily be passed over to the relevant committee of this House, which committee would come up with the report itself, and which report would be debated by this House, and then this House would either decide to forward the main report of the Auditor General and the report of the House to the relevant investigating authority. I thought that would be the right procedure, because I don't think this particular audit report is classified.
Among insisted that it is a classified report and would request CID to report back in 1 month. I'm Navka Farida and Gloria Guitabinji.
It is classified.
Thank you, Navka Farida. Thank you, Gloria Guitabinji. Now, the CADIP summit is officially underway in Uganda, and it's bringing together key leaders across the country, across the continent actually, to discuss agricultural development. Now, our reporter Robert Onyango is live, and he is in Entebbe International Airport, where preparations are in full swing and where they are ready to receive several heads of state. Over to you, Robert Onyango.
Well, thank you, my sister Lauren, for the updates in terms of how we have proceeded as a country and as UBC in terms of informing the public on what exactly is happening in different parts of the country. Yes, I'm Robert Onyango, and I'm coming to you live from Entebbe International Airport, specifically here at the VVIP Terminal, or Apron 4, as it is referred to many in terms of the aviation protocols and others. So, Lauren and our viewers of UBC, it has been a very busy day as the country Uganda kicked off the SADC conference, which almost has put tension of every part, every institution of government to ensure that this opportunity, we can organize it in a better way. And at the end of the day, we get what we throw back into our pockets as a country, Uganda. Now here at the VVIP airport, it has been a very silent day. We have witnessed the arrivals of a few dignitaries, including the chairperson of the African Union, His Excellency Faki, who arrived in the evening of the Thursday. Because we know and we want to prepare you that indeed this same place will be a very, very busy place in the coming moments, because at night at around 2 or 3 we are expecting the first head of state to hit the runway of Uganda, that is Entebbe Airport, to take part in the summit which is happening on the 11th, and that is Saturday of this month of January, that is 2025. Of course, the heads of state or presidents who are coming here specifically from all over the continent of Africa, I mean, almost 52 heads of state or presidents were invited for this summit, and we are told, according to the protocol and the arrangements by the government of Uganda, that so far they are expecting 15 heads of state who are going to start rolling to the country Uganda starting today night, and in the morning we expect like 2 presidents to be arriving here at Entebbe Airport, and we shall be showing those live images as they unfold. So we want to keep you posted. We want to have hope that indeed the summit gives Uganda an opportunity and the President of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, to lead a new agenda of Africa in terms of food security, because me and you must be given the fact that indeed this summit is focusing on issues of agriculture, and key among the policies we are waiting, because we have seen in the past the policies of the Maputo and Marubo. So we are hoping that the Kampala Declaration will be a good package for not only Uganda but the country and East Africa and Africa at large. So, Lauryn, there's no much I can share with our viewers as per what is happening here, but we shall keep here until we give you the last man arriving in this place or even departing. Back to you, Lauryn, at the broadcast house for more updates in our UBC Tonight News Bulletin. I'm Robert Onyango.
Robert Onyango giving us an update on what's happening at the Entebbe International Airport when it comes to the anticipated arrival of the several heads of state who will be also attending the CADIP summit. Now, UBC News Tonight takes a very short break, but we'll return with more stories after these messages. Don't move an inch.
Here's your chance to win school fees for your child for a whole year. Just pay school fees using Momo. Dial *165 *80 hash. Select option 2 for school pay. Select option 1 to pay school fees. Enter the student number and amount and approve the transaction. You are now entered a draw to win school fees.
Mara ngenze mboni pa Sam nazanya luto ganyiga star 278 then hash kujja kubanga oyingire mu kazannyo nga sente zino zimula wano zina wangu zino wano milioni 10 ebindi wana soka bila ku TV nange sasoka kikiriza ninga mulaye kino kinzo kubanga kituufu oba yaddala tibya bufere sente zino nazifire zino nazikoze eki naziwangudde amasanyu ina mangi ebyoto byange byembadde njagala ngenda bitukiriza.
Uganda National Lottery. Dream, play, win. Participants must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. The Uganda National Lottery is operated by Ituba Uganda and regulated by the National Lotteries and Gaming Regulatory Board.
Uganda will host the African Union Extraordinary Summit of Heads of State and Government from the 9th to the 11th January 2025 at the Munyonyo Commonwealth Resort and Convention Center. The summit will consider and adopt the new Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program, CADIP framework, and sign the Kampala Declaration to run for the next 10 years. The CADIP Kampala 2025 summit will unite over 2,000 delegates, including government leaders, private sector and stakeholders, under the theme, Building Resilient Agri-Food Systems in Africa.
Welcome back from that break. We're glad you're still with us. Now in more news this evening, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development is seeking close to $200 million for compensation of Umeme, whose contract will cease operational by end of March this year. Now this was disclosed during the budget framework paper where the sector ministry presented over 22.9 trillion shillings for 2025-2026 financial year.
Officials from the Ministry of Energy, led by the State Minister for Energy and Mineral Development, Opolot Okasai, appeared before the Natural Resource Committee of Parliament to present their budget estimates for scrutiny for a tune of over 2.9 trillion, which includes implementation of sustainable extractive development and sustainable energy development.
4 years down the road, you'll have no power. No power line. You are giving me an opportunity to talk my mind and the pains. I want to transfer it to you. They are limiting factors and they are all related to financing.
During the decisions, members tasked the officials to be updated on the Umeme concession agreement, who will cease operation soon.
We need to ensure that we are able to settle Umeme for any amounts that they will not have recovered, because they recover their investments through the tariff, but as we wind up, there will be those amounts that have not been recovered.
The permanent secretary to the ministry, Irene Batebe, is also seeking over $70 million to facilitate the operation of UCDEL.
We have emphasized the commitments around the sustainable energy development, where we want to support to drive the access to electricity levels, to ensure that we achieve universal access. As many Ugandans as possible have access to electricity.
Give us the money and make the best use of the brains that we have.
Other key issues discussed which created debate between officials from the Ministry of Energy and members included unfulfilled promises for the production of fast oil in Uganda. Lydia Chomkama and Gloria Gwitabinji, Parliament.
NEMA is set to embark on environmental impact assessment of all unlicensed commercial farming to curb all imports and threats of environmental degradation. The environmental assessment follows the implication caused by extensive agriculture development, which has accounted to 80% loss of the forest cover. The exercise is to be carried out in accordance with the National Environment Management Act of 2019.
Has implications on the environment.
The National Environment Management Act of 2019 added agriculture on the list of projects that should undertake environmental impact assessment before establishment. This was centered on its implication on the environment, given its contribution to the forest loss of about 80% arising from activities like alteration of wetlands, deforestation, change in land use, displacement, among others.
And we have seen, for example, in the case of Uganda, that the forest cover loss is equivalent to agricultural land expansion.
Even with its contribution to the country's gross domestic product, the negative impacts of agriculture on the environment have already been felt. The Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Agenda 2063 continental initiative is aimed at supporting countries to enhance resilience to climate, improving the sustainability of agricultural production and use of natural resources.
If you have unsustainable agriculture, you will cut down forests, you will open up wetlands, and then you create more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and then you create global warming, which eventually kills agriculture.
To meet the agenda, Uganda has several initiatives that will ensure compliance and reduction of negative implications of commercial agricultural development. The National Environment Management Authority is set to embark on environmental impact assessment of all unlicensed commercial farming to control impacts and threats of environmental degradation.
So to ensure that development of agriculture does not threaten environment and social well-being, commercial agriculture must undergo environment and social impact assessment before being done. For small-scale household agriculture for subsistence, that one does not require.
This is to apply to all commercial farms that were established before the Act, while those that had already been licensed will be subjected to annual reviews.
And if there are commercial agriculture farms that were established without environment and social impact assessment, these are encouraged to regularize, especially those which were established before the law.
It is worth noting that the European Union in 2020 passed resolutions requiring agricultural exports entering the European market to meet regulations on land use. According to the European Union Deforestation Regulation proposal, all export must have been grown in a sustainable manner where no forest was destroyed.
Our market will crash if we do not practice sustainable agriculture, if we do not practice agriculture that doesn't threaten the environment. So now it's a requirement to prove that your crops you want to sell to UK, or rather to European Union market, did not destroy environment. So that makes environment and social impact assessment for agricultural development even more important to sustain our markets.
The target commodity consignments include coffee, rubber, soya, oil, palm, and beef, among others, all required to have proper proof of production. Susan Nawonga, reporting for ABC TV.
Parliament has approved the National Development Plan 4, and the Speaker of Parliament has given National Planning Authority and Ministry of Finance 1 month to make amends to the report as per the recommendations of the Joint Committee of Finance and Budget, the return to Parliament to adopt the plan. The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Annette Among, said the document needs to be cleaned up in terms of ensuring equity and ensuring that there is regional balance in distribution of programs. We have more.
Parliament in December last year received the document of the National Budget Framework Paper, and the Speaker of Parliament referred it to sectoral committees.
However, Section 9.3 of the Public Finance Management Act 2025 requires the National Budget Framework Paper to be consistent with the National Development Plan. After the approval of NDP4, then we shall look at the Budget Framework Paper.
During the sitting of Parliament Thursday, State Minister for Finance in charge of planning, Amos Lugorobi, moved a motion of Parliament to approve the 4th National Development Plan 2025-2026 and 2029-30.
This goal will be achieved under the theme, and this is our main focus area, sustainable industrialization for inclusive growth, employment and wealth creation.
The chairperson of the Joint Committee, Opolot Patrick Nsiaji, while presenting the committee report on NDP4, said the plan must ensure equity, competitiveness, apply public-private partnership participation and accountability.
The monitoring and evaluation is not adequately handled, and we are going to recommend, as we go ahead, independent audit by Auditor General of this plan implementation. And also us, as we do the budgeting, we must also stick to what is in the plan.
In order to achieve the NDP4, the resource allocation mechanism must be aligned to the planning. And then you allocate in the entire 5 years 24% debt servicing. That means, Madam Speaker, this development plan is a debt servicing national development plan.
National Development Plan 4 is premised to achieve a double-digit growth of 10.1%, achieve higher household incomes, full monetization of the economy and employment for sustainable socio-economic transformation.
The plan has an estimate of about 593 trillion. It's a 593 trillion plan for 5 years. Industrialization takes a bigger portion. Industrializing the agricultural sector. Also the NDP4 envisions creation of over 800,000 jobs, mainly in the services sector.
NDP4 indicates that National Planning Authority and Ministry of Finance have not yet conceptualized the idea of program-based budgeting versus sector approach. This is evidenced in the issues of administration of justice.
The gaps therein in having the administration of justice in different programs. Administration of justice in the social program, administration of justice in an education program, in which and all the other programs having a component of administration of justice, and yet we have administration of justice has a program of its.
Members of Parliament reacted to this with a view that programs in this sector need to be put in one place.
Now your assertion and your support that court-martial must be removed from the purview of the UPDF and brought under the purview of the administration of justice.
But the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, which handles the Electoral Commission, which handles the Uganda Law Reform Commission, Judicial Service Commission and LDC and several others, to lump them together would cause a problem.
Don't bring prisoners to court, but they attend court through video conferencing. Who budgets for that?
On this is, whereas we always emphasize the issue of program-based budgeting, when you go to the actual implementations, we are still stuck in silos and in sectors. There are a lot of duplications.
We have formulated this plan, and to the extent possible, we have tried to eliminate these duplications in terms of implementation. In fact, this partly was intended to cure that problem.
The committee made recommendations on several issues like regional imbalance, legal compliancy of the plan, parish development model emphasizing that resource allocations need to be informed by certain parameters, and on revenue mobilization to fast-track the implementation of domestic revenue mobilization strategy.
Issues of repetition, projects that were double counted. For example, climate smart agriculture was appearing twice. There were projects that had been completed, but they still found themselves in the list.
That report coming must show the projects by district or by regions.
Analysis is going to be done on these projects, which program belongs to where, what can be taken to justice or wherever. It must be analyzed before they bring back the report.
I'm Nafka Farid and Gloria Ngwitabinji at Parliament.
Now, Parliament has approved a $15.22 million loan by government from African Development Bank and an additional fund of over $73 million from African Development Fund for the funding and construction of Laurny Moyo Afoji Katuna Muko Kamuganguzi Road, and the project is to ease transportation and tourism.
At the plenary sitting held on Wednesday, 18th September 2024, a proposal by government to borrow up to $15.22 million from the African Development Bank and $73.15 million from the African Development Fund has additional funding for the construction of the Laurny Moyo Afoji Katuna Moko Kamuganguzi Road was presented to Parliament and referred to the Committee of National Economy for scrutiny.
Given that the required amount is additional funding, the project scope remains the same as initially approved in August 2020.
In the Thursday early plenary sitting, the State Minister for Finance, Henry Musasizi, presented to Parliament the objectives of the loan.
Implementation support services and institutional support and compensation and resettlement of the project affected persons.
Parliament approved the loan request. However, report from the Committee of National Economy observed that almost all ongoing projects in the works and transport sector have faced low performance. The committee also recommends that for efficient and effective implementation of this project, the implementation agency should ensure adequate identification of risks that occur throughout the project. Presenting a minority report on the same project, the Katikamu South legislator, Chirumira Hassan, disclosed how the particular loan had no clearance from the president as it should be. He also notes how the minister did not submit utilization of the first loan acquired on the same particular project.
The committee has not taken initiative to find out if the original money was utilized properly or whether there was value for money.
The minister responded to the claims.
Condition is that the project must be cleared by the president, which happened on 13th of November 2017, when this project was procured. When additional borrowing is required, the requirement is that we must go back to cabinet, where the president is the chairman, and we get approval. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that this additional borrowing was presented to Cabinet on 2nd of September 2024, and the minute extract is attached.
The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Mong, however, tasked the Minister to follow up on the approved loans and procedures in the constructions to reveal value for money.
And see whether the money that has been approved has done a good job.
The House also authorized government to borrow up to 45.0 million euros from the AFD in form of additional funding towards implementation of the Kampala Water, Lake Victoria Water and Sanitation Project.
You guys have it. Thank you.
The project will ensure adequate water provision in Greater Kampala metropolitan area by increasing capacity of existing water transmission and distribution. Lydia Chomkama and Gloria Gwitabinji, Parliament.
You used to tell me that I don't make you happy. All that time you would be complaining. I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Uganda will host the African Union Extraordinary Summit of Heads of State and Government from the 9th to the 11th January 2025 at the Munyonyo Commonwealth Resort and Convention Center. The summit will consider and adopt the new Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program, CADIP framework, and sign the Kampala Declaration to run for the next 10 years. The CADIP Kampala 2025 Summit will unite over 2,000 delegates, including government leaders, private sector and stakeholders, under the theme, Building Resilient Agri-food Systems in Africa.
Agriculture is Uganda's economic backbone, employing about 70% of the working population and contributing 20% of the GDP. As the world becomes a digital global village, ICT has proven to increase productivity in the agricultural value chain. UKUSAF, through its Strategic Plan 3, recognizes the importance of access and usage of ICT-based tools, information and knowledge for farmers by providing them the needed skills to live, learn, work and participate in a digital society.
We came up with a project which we took to UKSAF, and we're happy that UKSAF supported it. That project is called ICT for Farmers. What did we get from ICT for Farmers? We managed to skill up to 100,000 farmers.
Welcome back from that break. Now in more news this evening, the Prime Minister of Uganda, Robert Nabanja, has called upon African countries to reduce the over-reliance on food imports from outside the continent. Nabanja says Africans must feed themselves and reduce the cost of importing food, which is currently standing at $100 billion. The Premier was this morning opening a ministerial session of the African Union Extraordinary Summit on Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program, CADIP, at Speak Resort, Munyonyo in Kampala.
Africa and Uganda at large is gifted by nature with arable and fertile land, abundant fresh water, with enough rainfall. The African Development Bank report indicates that 60% of the Africa's working population is engaged in agriculture. However, African countries continue to import food. The 2021 report revealed that African countries spend over $100 billion annually on importing food. This, according to the Prime Minister of Uganda, Robin Anabanja, must be reversed.
I urge you to deliberately work to reduce Africa's over-reliance on food imports from outside the continent. That a continent that was gifted by God with such a proportion of the world's arable land and fertile land is experiencing such a trend in food imports. This session of this summit should come up with concrete proposals on how Africa can come out of such an undesirable situation. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, for us to guarantee our future as Africans, we must feed ourselves.
The Premier, who is also the Kakumiro Woman Member of Parliament, was this morning opening a ministerial session of the African Union Extraordinary Summit on the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program, CADAP, at Speak Resort Munyonyo in Kampala.
Colleague ministers, you will recall that slightly over 20 years ago, that is in 2003, our heads of state and government adopted a comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program, abbreviated as CADAP, and that is the one of the strategies towards the realization of the Africa's Agenda 2063. As of today, we remain with about 38 years to end the Africa's Agenda 2063.
The Malabo Declaration mandates all African countries to allocate at least 10% of the national budget to agriculture, but none of them has attained this requirement.
We noted with concern that no single country was on track to meet the Malabo CADAP goals and the target by 2025 and under. As such, they directed the African Union Commission and the African Union Development Agency, our NEPAD, working with partners to develop the post-Malabo CADAP agenda that will respond to the challenges and opportunities facing Africa's agri-food system.
The Prime Minister advised the African ministers to invest in mechanisms that can boost food production on the African continent.
There is need for policy reviews for food security and nutrition. Number 2, investing in research for improved seeds and in livestock. Number 3, we need to consider disease control. Number 4, investment in irrigation and mechanization is a must to mitigate climate change and enhance production.
The CADAP Kampala Declaration is expected to come up with a comprehensive strategic and action plan 2026-2036, which will be adopted by the heads of state, reflecting the aspiration of the African continent.
By pooling our resources and knowledge, we have developed a robust and actionable framework to guide Africa's agricultural system, Africa's agri-food system transformation in the years ahead.
We have to enhance policy frameworks and develop and implement policies that support sustainable agricultural practices, promote food sovereignty, and protect the rights of smallholder farmers, and foster innovation and technology transfer, invest in research and development to harness the potential of technology in agriculture, from precision farming to digital platforms that connect farmers to the market. Together we can build a healthy and prosperous Africa where food security is guaranteed, livelihoods are enhanced, and our agricultural systems are sustainable.
And now into the sports scenes. She Cranes players Shadia Nansanga and Christine Nachito have withdrawn from Uganda's national netball team, preparing for the 2025 Vitality Nations Cup. The tournament, which will take place from the 1st to the 9th of February in Nottingham, England, will now see the pair, who were originally part of the 22-player squad, pursue lucrative opportunities in the Malaysian Netball Super League. This marks the second wave of departures to Malaysia following a similar exodus in 2023 when Nasanga Shafi Nalwanja, Farida Kandondi and Christine Namulumba moved to Malaysian clubs in search for better financial prospects. Meanwhile, the She Cranes continue their preparations at Lugogo Indoor Arena after relocating from Makerere. Uganda will face hosts England, South Africa and Namibia in the tournament. And with that, we come to the end of our first edition of UBC News Tonight. Do join us at 10 for more stories. I'm Laurny Masika Kazimoto. See you at 10.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.